All right, now I want to talk about a few tips that the author of this book gives regarding negotiation. So, one of his best tips is that people want to feel understood. That's one of our primary desires. We want to feel that the other person understands us. They're listening to us. They're considering our feelings, our opinion. They're actually listening to what we're saying. And he talks about the fact that if you can get the other party to feel understood and feel like you're really listening to them and you empathize with them, it will be much more likely that you'll reach a deal with them. And not only that, but they'll also feel happy about this deal. They'll feel satisfied with the deal that you've made because you made them feel understood. You built that empathy, that connection with them. And once they feel that, it's much easier to actually get them to agree to what you want, really. And they'll feel much better about that. So he talks about being genuinely empathetic and understanding of them, to focus the conversation on them and what they have to say and not just what you have to say. A lot of times in negotiations, we focus on everything that we want, right? And that's not a good strategy. You should allow the other people to do a lot of the talking, and you should listen and allow them to feel understood and to show them that you really care about them and their feelings and their ideas. So that's a really good tip that he gives. Another tip that he gives that is very counterintuitive, meaning that it goes against what we normally think, is that you shouldn't try to get them to say yes too soon and try to get them to just say yes and agree with everything that you're saying. There are a lot of salespeople nowadays that use this tactic. They try to get you to say yes to many things in the conversation so that you will eventually say yes to their final proposition. So they'll start the conversation by saying, do you appreciate drinking clean water? And of course, everybody says yes to that. Everybody likes clean water. But when someone comes up to us on the street and they start with that question, we immediately feel negative. Even though we say yes, we immediately feel like this person is going to try to sell us something that we don't want. And then they're going to ask a lot of other questions that get us to say yes, 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 until eventually they say, well, great, we have this perfect product for you. Since you like all of this, here it is. Do you want to buy it? Right? We already know what's going to happen. So we aren't enthusiastic about saying yes in these situations. And we don't feel good about someone just trying to get us to say yes and force the yes out of us. So he talks about getting people to actually say no towards the beginning of the conversation. Ask them things that allow them to actually say no. Of course, you eventually want them to say yes at the end, but it's better to go for the no earlier on. And when they say no, it makes them feel more comfortable, and it makes them feel like they are in power and they have autonomy, and it allows them to actually start to have a real conversation with you and not just one of these fake exchanges like I just mentioned, right? They'll actually start to think clearly about what you're saying after you've given them the power to say no early on. It's strange, I know. It's counterintuitive, but studies show that when the person is able to say no to things earlier in the negotiation, it allows them to eventually work towards a real, authentic yes at the end. So I know that sounds a little weird, but I think that it's a very interesting insight, a very interesting tip that he gives. So I recommend that you read more about that in his book or somewhere else. And one other tip that he gives is mirroring. This refers to repeating the last words or the most important 2 or 3 words that the person says. So if they say, we've been dealing with a lot of problems, instead of saying, oh, really? What you can say is, a lot of problems? So you repeat their final words or the most important few words, and it allows them to talk more and to feel more of a connection with you. When you mirror them, it actually makes them feel more connected. When you repeat their words, they feel this bond or connection with you. It's pretty interesting. So if you get into the habit of doing this, you'll allow them to talk more about their problems, feel understood, like I mentioned before, feel like you're listening to them, feel like you're connecting with them, all because you repeated their last few words, all because you turned their last couple words into a question. It's really interesting. It doesn't sound like a really big thing that you do, but he talks about how effective it is. It really helps establish this connection. So those are a few tips that he gives. He gives many more tips. I recommend this book. It's really interesting. It will help you see negotiation in a different way. So check that out. I highly recommend it. All right, we're going to stop there for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember that you can become a Listening Time family member to get my advanced podcast episodes where I speak fast. So if you need to practice with real English, then make sure to sign up. And if you are a Spanish or a Portuguese speaker, make sure to check out my ebook if you want to read fiction in English. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll talk to you